So Reimagine Learning, since the beginning, has had student agency and voice as one of our 3 core values. Yet it wasn't clear what the work was that we should do. So we have had a youth, a few members, few young people who've been advising us since the beginning. Delano Johnson, who unfortunately cannot be here, has been a youth advisor for us since 2014. He's now on staff and leads our youth work with Molly O'Donnell, whom you'll hear from in a minute. And this past year, we worked with Youth Build USA, Kim Finney and Monica are in the back there. Just kind of raise your hands so people can see who you are. To pilot, and Annette and Alicia, where are you? Alicia, okay, yeah, so there she is, they're being shy. We crafted a partnership with their Young Leaders Council, which Molly's going to say more about, and we really just said to ourselves, if we are taking seriously this ladder of youth engagement, which I mentioned earlier, and we're learning from some of the work that organizations like Up for Learning have done, what does it look like to move from really kind of using youth as token representatives, or sort of folks that we allude to, or informing them about what's happening, to actually asking them, well, what do you think this should look like? How would you design this? And do you want to be at the front of this? And how can we support you, as Dennis mentioned? So what we're going to do now is transition to hearing from this group that worked with us over the past year and hear their perspective. So please, I'll turn it over to Molly, and she'll take it from there.
Awesome. All right, I just need this.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. I don't really want to talk that much. I want to get the young leaders up here and having a conversation with you all. But as Jody mentioned, we're super excited about the Young Leaders Council work, and we've been doing this since February. I'm actually going to have Carmen and Lydia come on up with me. And we're going to chat a little bit about the project. What? This one. All right. Come on up. We're going to chat a little bit about what this project was, and then we're going to share a video that we've been working on since February. And then the Young Leaders Council, who's all in the room, and if you're a Young Leaders Council member, why don't you go ahead and stand up, wave, let us know who you are, where you're at. Give them a round of applause. Right back there, yeah. Awesome. So the Young Leaders Council is actually going to get you guys into conversation in just a little bit, because they really want to be in partnership with you all in thinking about designing the future of school. So we're super excited about that. I'm going to take a few minutes to talk about the project that the Young Leaders named Awakening the Mind. It's a pilot project we've been doing on youth engagement since February. This is the Young Leaders Council group. You'll see them all around you. And we started this project in February in partnership with the Young Leaders Council to really say, if you were to, like Dennis said, imagine the future of school and you didn't know what school was. And I think Sherelle aptly pushed us and said, can we just say the future of learning? Can we actually just not say the future of school? Because when I think school, I don't think great things. So how would we actually start this conversation? So in February, we started having conversations online, having weekly, bi-weekly phone calls, going through this 6-step learning journey. And we did about 3 things online. We first kind of just got to know each other and actually looked at Ken Robinson's video, Changing Education Paradigms, which I think a number of you saw with the graphic design. And so that's what we really anchored on. We said, we're going to create the next piece. We're going to create the solution piece to Ken Robinson's Changing Education Paradigms. So we talked about that. We then talked about how the brain actually works. What do we know about how learning happens and how the brain works to make sure that schools, or learning, to Sherelle's point, is really designed for what we know about science. Then we did some work as journalists for the future. We talked to students from innovative schools, from Big Picture Schools being one of them, to say, like, what innovations are out there? So they had a little bit of an experience like we did yesterday with the live learning environments. And what we took away from that, and I think Bruce was the one he's standing in the back, who said during our session that it's amazing these innovations are out there. It's fantastic, yet I feel cheated because it's not in my community. So how do we actually do this and design schools so that those innovations we experienced yesterday, the innovations we saw when we were doing our Journalists of the Future work, are actually in the communities where students most need them? We then, in July, came together for a big 2-day summit. We learned about different stories of advocacy, how to tell a powerful story, reflected on our own learning journeys. You'll see some artwork on the walls from that. And then talked about designing the future of schools. So At this point, so this is some of the artwork. I encourage you to take a look. But I really want to just hear from the young leaders, and then we'll get you all into conversation. So I'm going to kick it off with you guys. Would you guys tell us a little bit about what is the Young Leaders Council?
Can you hear me? The YLC is a national council for the Youth Build USA. We are all elected by our peers, and what we do is put policy input and decision making into program designs on a national level and at our local programs. We advocate for many things, and Youth Build USA, when it comes to it, we're at risk youth, but we obtain our high school diploma, job skills, and leadership at the same time.
Yeah, also we serve a 3-year term. We have mandatory conference calls. I have notes because I'm like mad nervous, you guys. Sorry.
Give them a round of applause. Give them a little love. Give them a little love. All right, yeah, there you go.
We also have discussions and workshops on personal development and professionalism, things like that. We try to build each other up. We serve a term. We put in policy input on a national level for our local programs. We have over 240 programs, I believe, all over the United States. So it's a bunch of us all over the United States that come from different programs to tell them what it's about. And if we have that voice for them, we can put that back at a local level, and maybe the programs will be better and have a better rate of graduations.
Yeah. So they stay pretty busy, this group of people, all going all over the country telling their stories. I'd actually love to hear a little bit from each of you about what was your education journey like before you got to Youth Build?
I would say mine was rough. I would say because I come from poverty. You know, my mom worked 2 jobs. Like I was telling Molly before, I had to walk an hour just to get to school, and that was in elementary. And so from there, it took one teacher. I only had one teacher, well, 2, because of Youth Build. But I had one teacher in my elementary school that I really appreciated because we'd always get bullied at school because we didn't have a lot of clothes and things like that. But her daughter was actually a clothing designer, and she would give us free clothes all the time, and she was due to the fact of walking and all the things. So bullying and being in a poverty area, and then on top of that, I was feeling like I was constantly judged throughout my years by my teachers. They was no better than the students. And so for me, that's what made it rough in school, because I didn't have a space where I could feel that I can trust somebody or talk to somebody and even get the help that I needed. Because it's like, okay, well, I need help with this, but you're not helping me. You're just giving me the same information that I'm asking for help on. And so for me, it was rough. Once I got into Youth Build, I would say that my favorite teacher was Mr. H. He was excellent. He actually sat down with me and talked with me, and we got specific on what I needed help with and the steps to get that done. And that's how I graduated with my high school diploma. But because of that, and me playing a part in getting on the advisory team and the policy team at my local program, I was able to voice that, like, we need tutors, we need this, we need that. And that's what became the reality, like, okay, I can do this. I got somebody I could trust, I trust in, and somebody that believes in me enough to keep me going. And that's what made it cool for me.
My education journey was rough. I grew up in Los Angeles, California, an urban area, was known for predominantly drugs, gangs, and things like that. It was hard going to school because it's either you're going to find somebody to hang with or be down with, or be yourself and be talked about. So the teachers didn't care. They already looked at us like the minority coming in from the area that we in. They only came because it was a check. They didn't even like the area that the school was in. So we didn't predominantly have great teachers that cared about us and followed through with our work assignments. It's like if you didn't do it, they didn't care to adjust you or see where you needed help at. I was telling Molly yesterday, we had fear from one of our 6th grade teachers. He literally choked the boy. He wasn't, nothing happened to the teacher. He continued to come with the class, and this young man still had to come to the class. They didn't change the class or anything. Following on 9th grade, I personally, oh yeah, I can't touch my shirt. But, I personally had an altercation at school where I was stabbed on the premises of school. So that's no security. Students are able to bring weapons. So after that, I was like done with school. I dropped out. I didn't complete high school. Turned around, I was 18, going nowhere, can't go into any school because it's over for me. And then I found the Youth Build program, who specialize in helping at-risk youth to get back on their feet. I had a baby at 22 years old, and that really made me want to go back to school. I gained my high school diploma, graduated, graduate of the year from my class, served on the policy council. Then I came to Washington and ran for the Young Leaders Council. I initially got on as an alternate. Down the line, I became officially on the council. Then I was communications officer and eventually led up to vice president of the council. So I'm saying all this to say I didn't never let none of the things from my past stop me from going for my future, even though it was rough. And now it's like an advisory for people in my community. I'm the girl, like, don't stop, you can do it, go back to school, it's programs. Even though you feel like the teachers don't care about you, somebody here, we have to go another direction. You gotta go somewhere, just don't stop. They say it's a road and it diverge, go the other way. So it was very hard, but now I'm doing great. And I'm just pushing for better schools, better opportunity, more teachers that's serious, more teachers that want to be involved with the students instead of just a paycheck. I mean, everybody needs money, I understand that, but we still need guidance.
Yeah, so, yeah, give them a round of applause. So Carmen and Lydia are up here, but so many of the members of the YLC, each of them could tell you an unbelievably compelling story about their own education journey, how varied it was, and what it meant for them to find teachers or people who believed in them at Youth Build and in their own, leadership, really stepping into the YLC and other places in their community. And we wanted to really focus in on, what's wrong with the current system, right? The system has failed members of the YLC and so many complex learners like we've talked about. But we can't stop there, right? Like what actually would a dream school look like? So I'd love for each of you to just quickly, and then we'll get to the video, which I know people are really excited about. This is the world premiere video we're gonna show you,
Really?
right? World premiere. Real quickly, what was this project like for you?
For me, the project was amazing, finally having a say-so or input on education reform, because I have a 5-year-old son and I know he's going to grow up in the urban area. I don't have the tools and the funds to move somewhere else and get him the better opportunity. So just making a change and trying to implement that into a school that I know my son and maybe his future kids and your grandkids, y'all probably a little older up there. No, I'm just playing. No, seriously, I just feel like it was an amazing opportunity for me and my group to implement our decisions and what we did. If you guys look in the back over there, we have a few posters that we did. It's like, what is school like, what it should be like, and what would you want it to be? So it was an amazing journey for me, and it was great working with you guys.
Oh, back at you.
For me, it was a learning experience. At the same time, I was happy because we got to put our input in a lot. At the same time, we also got to wake up to a lot of things and got to notice a lot of things that, okay, we're not the only ones that are going through this. We're not the only ones that are thinking like this. So to be a part of that change is saying, okay, I just made history. I'm a part of that, and I can be very proud to say that, especially coming from where I came from before. So for me, I got a little girl. I got 2 little nephews that I'm raising, and I just want to know that they're going to make it out there. I don't want them to struggle as much as I did, and I want to know that they are actually learning, not just looking at something and passing by something, but actually learning it and taking it in and expanding what they're learning. So I'm glad I could be a part of that voice to make that happen.
Awesome. Well, give these guys a huge round of applause. All right. And I'm looking into the back. So are you guys ready for a world premiere video? Yeah, all right. So we're gonna let the video play.
Whatever you're passionate about.
We came from across the country, from the largest urban centers and the smallest rural towns in America. At the invitation of New Profit and its Reimagine Learning Fund, we gathered in Boston for 2 very intense days of learning and leading.
As a student, I had the hard time learning also because I believe I learned based on visual, not in the book.
I believe there's just a lack of advocacy right now. No one really wants to attend to the students that are struggling.
I hope that they can actually make it to where people aren't dropping out of school, to where teachers are more interactive inside their classrooms, to where kids feel more comfortable.
We are members of Youth Build USA's Young Leaders Council, a group of students and graduates elected by our peers from all across the country. We advocate for students like ourselves who have big dreams that our schools have failed to support. Our trip to Boston was the culmination of a 4-month journey of reflection, discovery, and dreaming about the American educational system and the future of learning in this country. Because if there's one thing we know for sure, if young people like us are not at the center of the national conversation about learning, nothing will change. We did a lot of brainstorming during our 2 days in Boston, using art to capture our thoughts, feelings, and ideas. We learned about how the brain works and how learning environments can be designed to bring out the best in young people.
What I think needs to be changed in our current education system is the amount of structure that's put into it, and you have to fit every student into like a cookie cutter mold, and it takes the creativity and the life out of the students, and you're just left with the crumbles.
For most of us, traditional schools just didn't work. Mainstream America has always looked at us as failures. But from our perspective, we didn't fail. The system failed us.
Our education system is broken, I would say, because they don't focus on about like artistic, or creativity. They always focus on about how to pass a state standard test or how to get into the most prestigious university or take a test. If you fail your test, it's gonna be reflect to your future.
We hear many people say that school is based on a factory model. We respectfully disagree. To us, school felt more like a prison. It was militant, rigid, overcrowded, with teachers forced into roles that made them seem like prison guards. We never had enough books or supplies, and what we did have was torn and tattered. School left us feeling embarrassed, ashamed, frustrated, and angry. We didn't feel the investment in us from the adults, and never felt like we had the space to truly be ourselves, to follow our interests and passions. Frankly, our truth is a painful one, but one that we had to share. But we couldn't stop there. It was time to roll up our sleeves, to reimagine school for our younger brothers and sisters, and for our own children.
When I imagine the perfect education system, it looks like a school that doesn't really look like a school. It looks fun, and you're not gonna go in there and, be bored sitting at a desk all day.
I think it would look like a community, everybody getting along and working together as a community.
Just be comfortable, you'd be able to answer something and not feel like you're embarrassed because you didn't know the answer. Someone doesn't want to help you because they think you're unhelpable, and that just is not the way things should be.
My hopes for the future of education would be to have human beings in that learning environment who really want to tap into that individual student, who really care about not how that student does things, but more so why they do the things the way they do. With an open mind and an open heart.
Something that doesn't force you to conform and lets you be who you are while giving you the tools to succeed in life, not only in one area but in multiple areas. That way you can find which avenue to go down and be happy and be successful and make a change and a difference in your surroundings.
Our school should be a relaxed environment with couches, plants, and tons of natural light, kind of like the ideal workplace. Our classrooms should reflect our personal lives and the communities we come from. We need smaller classes and more opportunities to collaborate with each other. We need internships and other connections to the real world, and people to celebrate our accomplishments. Our teachers should be more like advisors, mentors, and role models, because how they show up matters a lot. The truth is that we young people know a good environment when we see one, and we can do great things if the doors of opportunity are truly open to us.
I think the youth's role in changing the current education system is to speak up and have their voice heard, demand it to be heard, because nothing's going to be changed if we're not involved.
We know what students like us, and in fact, all students need to be successful. Until our vision of school is true for every student, regardless of zip code, race, or class, we have not succeeded. Young people like us must be at the center of the conversation about the future of education in the United States. As the saying goes, nothing about us without us. So let's work together, arm in arm, to build a movement to reimagine learning in America.